G'day viewers, Peter here. How they hanging? Just fucking around the shed today, so I thought like usual, I've been working and then I forgot to video it for you bastards. So I've nearly finished, or I've nearly finished what I'm going to do today. So sorry, but at least I will show you a bit. So this is the mini bike engine out of the Victa because they're all out of sequence. I've been working on another Victa engine that I got off a rotary hoe. Sorry, another Victa horizontal shaft motor that I got off a rotary hoe. And that one I've recently started, but this is the earlier one that's just been sitting in the shed. But this one's got the 3/4 shaft, so it's a more desirable thing. And I've got it apart, and I think I'll be able to get this one going too. So we'll see. It's a bit rusty, but let's have a look what I've been up to. All right, so just to bring you up to speed, you can see this one's got the G4 carby, which is a plastic carby, which really is very, very good. The Victa engineers really were just, I can't fault them, really, I can't. I mean, they made a half crank motor that is actually good. They made a plastic carby that's actually good. All right, so the first thing I notice is the spark plug says UJ12. Now, my experience is that Victa plugs have always been J8s, and then later on CJ8s, which is exactly the same but compact, so it's just physically smaller, but everything else is the same. This is a decompressor that I suspect is faulty. I've got a kit coming. We'll be able to do that. I've left the carby on just to keep the dirt out. Now this one had this zip starter arrangement, which I think once I lube it up, but this one, the pawls seem to be a lot better. The one on the rotary hoe, the business end of the pawl's been filed down over the years, so it's actually done a bit of work, that motor, I think. Whereas this one, it seems to be that the pawls are equal in length. So I found that a bit interesting. So that's the starter, I think can be resurrected. This is the flywheel off, and from what I can see, it appears to be, this motor seems to be about the same age as the other one. I think it's later. Well, actually, I estimate that other one is about 1975, and I estimate this one is about 1980, because it's got the plastic carby. But it seems to use much the same parts. The head's the same, and although the other one is a 125, and this one is a 160. How I tell, I've been playing with these things for a long time, and what Victa did, the original motor made in 1948 or whatever it was 2 1/8 bore and 2 1/8 stroke, so 2 inches plus 1/8. So it was a square motor, and the bore and stroke was the same, and that comes out to 125 cc's. Now, most of the horizontal shaft power units were 125 cc, but they did make some 160 cc's. Later on, Victa upped the capacity of their motor mowers to 160 cc's. I don't really know why, because I don't think they needed more power. They had sufficient. But anyway, in the end, they dropped the 125s altogether. Now, most of the parts are interchangeable, except for the barrel and the head. Everything else, you can convert one to the other. It's not a big issue. So when you look at things, you say, is it a 125 or a 160? And there's no real way to identify. But for me, with my hands, everybody's body is different. But for me, if I put these 3 fingers, whatever that span is, and if I go to these bolt centres, you can see that would be about 4 fingers between this bolt and this bolt. Can you see that? So if I did that, so that, if it's 4 fingers, it's a 160. Now I haven't got a 160 motor here, but this is a 125 cylinder head. If I just put it next to it, I think it's a 120, yeah. You can see it looks exactly the same. I'm just trying to see if I can get it in shot. So it looks exactly the same, but if I put my 3 fingers like that, and can you see that, so that one, it looks exactly the same, but my 3 fingers pretty much go from centre to centre, and this one, it's well short. It would actually be 4 fingers if I had it. So that's a bit of useless information. So a 125 is 3 fingers and a 160 is 4 fingers. Well, that's how I tell. And if you've got fat fingers, it might be different. But anyway, so I'm not sure what the story was with this plug, and I'm not sure about this decompressor. But I started to tell you about the flywheel. Now this flywheel, there's no evidence to me, or no witness marks, that this flywheel has been touching the magneto or the coil, which is the story I had with the other one. So that's good news. So I'm happy with that. There is the cup and the key. It all looks fine. No issues that I can see. Now this one is a little bit different than the other. If you look at these points, can you see there's a little circlip there? So these points are actually 2-piece ones. So I could actually unscrew this, and I can take this circlip off and separate the 2 halves of the points and file them properly, which I may or may not do. It's got no spark at the moment. And these ones, you can't really see, but down here, they're branded Victa. So these are genuine ones, and the other ones are aftermarket. So I'll clean up the points and clean the coil. I mean, physically looks all right, but that doesn't tell you much. So I'll give this a bit of a clean, and we'll see how it looks. What else have I taken off? This is the muffler, and you see it's got an extra shroud. That's because for the bagging, there's a Hessian bag because it was off a vacuum cleaner. But there seems to me to be, I don't know if it is supposed to be like that, which I doubt. I think this is rusted through or something. I don't really know. This hole here needs to be bent or something. It wasn't mounted correctly. And so that's that. This is the shroud off the top. Now it says on it Victa high torque 2-stroke engine, so I'm guessing that means that it's a 160 and not a 125. And this is the governor set up for the plastic carby, the G4 carburetor. And as you can see, that gives you a vacuum signal, which is how the carburetor governs the engine. And by rotating it, see how that's on a bit of a peculiar angle? By rotating the angle of that on that little spring-loaded clip, gives you your maximum speed. Now this mower's been, or vacuum cleaner's been out in the weather for 20 years or something, and so there actually is a fair bit of rust, particularly there, right about there. But the outside of it would probably paint up. So we'll see how that goes. And the only other thing I want to report, I'm not sure if I made it clear enough. This is the impeller when it was a vacuum cleaner. Now you can see that I've put the four grub screws back in, and you can see that they are 90 degrees. Is that 90? Actually, they're not quite 90. Or is it? Yeah, it's a funny, I don't know what it is. It's a, whatever that angle is. It's not 90 degrees, but see there's a keyway in there. Now, I don't know, it was very difficult for me to explain it the other day when I was pulling this off with my makeshift puller setup and how I had it ranged. But the reason I was confused, because normally I'm not a confused person, or I don't think so, but these two grub screws here, as you would expect, they're drilled through to this bore, they're drilled through and tapped, and they interact with the keyway, with the key. So they push on the key and hold the key down. And these two, which I thought were 90 degrees apart, but they're not quite, they are not drilled all the way through. They are drilled, all right, well those ones go through the keyway, sorry, those ones are drilled through, and these ones are drilled through probably within 1 millimetre of breaking through, but they actually don't break through. So there's 1 millimetre of aluminium. And so when I was trying to remove this, I physically removed those grub screws completely and sprayed some WD-40 down there. And then once I put a puller on and I pulled this impeller 1/2 inch like that up off the shaft, and then when I looked down these two holes, I could still see the dimple that I thought was on the shaft, but actually it was in the aluminium. So obviously what happens, if there's only a millimetre of aluminium there, it deforms down and bends down and just applies pressure. So you've actually got two screws pushing down on the keyway on this side, and then like 120 degrees apart or whatever it is. You've got two dimples in the aluminium pushing down, and then at 120 degrees from that you're probably pushing against the steel shaft. But that's why the two dimples, I'm pulling the impeller off and the dimples aren't moving, and it was confusing the hell out of me. So I hope you understand my confusion now. Alright, so I think that's about all I can tell you. I'll pull this apart to give it a bit of a scrub and hit it with some carby cleaner and stuff like that, and we'll see how this goes long term. So I'll say uru, so bye bye.